Michael, I want to flip this around back to you and go back to assessment
Okay.
because, this isn't art, this is design. A lot of, artists will be like, this is how I see the world. But a
Right.
designer says, this is how the people paying me see the world. And in this case, Columbia, expects me to kind of create success metrics.
Yeah.
When I create a product, I mean, it's fun, but that's not why I'm here. I actually have to create success metrics and I have to basically explain what that finish line looks like. And when I do come up with these metrics, I'm when I do assessment, I know enough assessment to be dangerous. Like I'm comfortable leading focus groups, one-on-one interviews, even surveys, in both a confirmatory way, when I'm exploring an idea, maybe getting a kind of like a pulse of what the audience might want from this. And then at the confirmatory stage where, did this meet your objectives? Like,
Mhm.
what would you like to see next? But like beyond the usual toolbox of qualitative and quantitative tactic, like how what can you tell me to help me think about designing a finish line
Sure.
in a non-communication point of view?
Yeah. That's a great question. So thinking about assessment, like collaborating on assessment is what you're saying. How would a learning
Yes.
designer and a learning experience designer collaborate on assessment? That's a great question because, again, if I were going to come back to the CTL tomorrow and I had the ability to do this, I think the first thing I would do when it comes to assessment is I'd set up a meeting with someone like you. We would sit down, learning designer and experience designer. Okay, Mark, let's come up with let's think of the top 10 assessment strategies that are out there aside from quizzes, and nothing wrong with those, but what are other strategies about assessment that are out there, they work, and then I would say let's figure out how we can collaborate, and you bring your best to it, I bring my best to it. For example, if we came up with a bunch of new assessment strategies that are a bit out of the box, and one of those was, say, presentations as an assessment strategy.
Huh.
You could be the person, I would come to you and say, Mark, can you help me deliver workshops on making great presentations? Because you make great presentations. That's one of your skills, is being able to make great presentations. Let's figure out how to teach students how to make better presentations and teach faculty how to make better presentations. Can you provide us with templates for presentations? Can you help us students with, all the things that you are, space, color, framing? Can you help us with that? Because now I could maybe create the instructions and the reasons why a presentation would be a good assessment strategy in this
Mhm.
particular course, but you could come in with all of your experience and help us make better presentations. um
Right.
I think, when you think of like things like think, pair, share as an assessment strategy, I think, oh, well, then Mark could be the person who, can you help set up that room? You're great at brainstorming, you're great at getting good ideas from people. Like, if we're going to do a think, pair, share as an assessment strategy, you should be leading the day of figuring out how to get people to bring up their best ideas and brainstorm and things like that. Can you help students work together? Because that's another one of your strengths, of like getting people in a room to collaborate and figuring out what people's strengths are.
A
So
lot of my colleagues at a lot of my learning design colleagues, they mention this all the time. Think, pair, share, think, pair, share. This is something that they use all the time. And I think it's something I'm not comfortable with in my traditional design thinking toolbox.
sure.
Could you quickly explain to like how would you explain think, pair, share to experienced designers like me who've never led a think, pair, share session before? I'd like to learn more about that.
Right. So, you're getting people in a room, you're posing a problem or something to work on. You have people sitting together thinking about it. Then they're going to go off and pair up, and they're going to think about it with other people. And then they're going to take that, what they've come up with, they're going to share it with the rest of the group or the whole class. So you get this thing of like individually thinking about a problem, working with some other people, discussing it, exchanging ideas, sharing that, bringing that back to the class so everybody hears it. And you would be the person, when we're talking about these collaborations, if I could do it all again, I would be thinking about ways that you're in that room and you're gonna run the room, and you're gonna teach people how to share their ideas and how to brainstorm and how to collaborate and how to present their materials, because that's all on your side of this. You know what I mean?
That's really. I would
Go
love to do that.
right, to
If
be
I
like,
could.
because if you just ask a group of people think, pair, share, and they don't really know how to do it well, and the teacher doesn't really know how to do it well, you're not probably going to get the most out of it. But somebody like you that could come in with your personality, with your positive attitude, with your ability to talk to people and get the best out of people, this is where an experienced designer could make this assessment strategy that much better. And
I'll tell
I
you.
see you in all these. I have like a couple assessment strategies in my head, and I see you as like an integral part of these. Like another assessment strategy could be, say, digital storytelling, the ability for people to create digital stories, and as an assessment, as a way to assess whether they understand something. You'd be perfect for this. Like Marc could come in. Can you help people make better videos? Can you help people tell a story? Can you help people storyboard what they're going to build? Like, to just say, our assessment, I'm going to assess you on a digital story, on a digital story. And I'm not really equipping them with how to make a great digital story.
Yeah.
But if we had you, the experienced designer, in there, then you know what I mean? It becomes a different thing. So, and
absolutely. Yeah. If you can't tell it at a campfire, you can't tell it in PowerPoint. You know what I mean? Telling a story has nothing to do with the media that the story is on. We're wired for it, these things. I especially, first of all, thank you for the compliment saying I have a positive attitude. I appreciate that. But this think, pair, share strategy, I feel like I can't afford not to understand this, because, for example, if I brought in a kind of a sample group of who my target audience is with a learning product, if I can get them to kind of figure out, if I can get them to define the problem properly, then I can go off and then I can actually start doing all of the design stuff. Because so many times, and I've done this, I will jump into a product design process armed with the wrong problem. It's like I've created a solution to a problem that no one has because I didn't ask the right questions, and that's so discouraging. But I feel like that this think, pair, share tactic, it may not guarantee success, but I can guarantee failure if I don't do it. So thank you for illuminating that for me. I'm gonna dig deeper in that, because no one knows your product better than your audience. And just because I'm the experienced designer doesn't mean I'm the cool cop, the good cop, bad cop. I'm really at the service of these people.
Right.
I'm at the service of the students.
Sure. And I think the question was, how do we sort of work together on assessment, right?
Yes.
And this is where I just see, your expertise melding in with a learning designer, because maybe the learning designer is figuring out what the different assessment strategies are. And when they have them, or they have one that they think would fit well with this class size and this course and this subject matter, I just think that then you could come in and just bring so much more to actually making that, to pulling that out of some book where it's just, here's the directions how to do it, and coming in with your expertise and making it as effective as possible. I think there's room for you in assessment strategies as an experienced designer, is what I'm saying. That collaboration, that creative collaboration between learning designer and experienced designer, would work wonderful in designing new assessment strategies because, as I said before, you're bringing in things that I'm limited by. I am not
Same
the
thing with
person in
me.
front of the big, I'm not the brainstorming expert. I'm not the person who knows how to tell stories really well. I'm not the storyboarder. I'm not a video editor that great. I'm not great at it. These things are like more your domain. So,
No, I would argue. In fact, I was going to say it's like we can partner on assessments, but
yeah,
you could, and then we move on to the fun part, which is brainstorming. I
absolutely.
think because I would disagree that, um, you do have good ideas because you've you've lived your life. Like you see things in a way I don't.
Right.
I think anyone that calls themselves a brainstorming expert or a creative, I think it's just nonsense because you bring if you and I were like, in a conference room and all we had was a whiteboard,
Right.
your lived life would get me, you know, you if I had a chance to kind of just sit and pick your brain, I would, I would say like, oh my God, I didn't know that. And then that's where real breakthroughs come in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I, you know, I like sticking my nose where I don't belong.
Right.
That's how I learn things.
Sure.
And, if I got to shadow you one day or a week and just follow you around and see the people you meet and see the things you do, I would probably learn a lot just because I'm out of my orbit and I'm in yours. And, like, I think just having a new perspective in your life would actually really help inform my creative problem solving. So
You're
yeah, I think
100%, my
we, we
friend.
we could come up with a finish line, but we could do the fun stuff too, and that's just shoot for the moon, daydream, and then
Absolutely.
we would probably need, of course, the functional designer. It's like you and I are like would be like great architects. We would have a great vision for a skyscraper. But a programmer would be like the structural engineer and say, "Oh, did you think about gravity? Like, oh, we forgot about that. We were having too much fun."
Right, right. Absolutely. No, I agree 100%. There's room in all of this for the experienced designer. There's definitely room in designing new assessments, and I'm glad you're in there. Maybe we could do one in the future. I hope our paths cross in that
Yeah,
regard.
and I've been watching your videos for a while on LinkedIn, and I know your target audience specifically are for new designers or career changers, people who want to jump into the
Yes.
design world. And I just want to say for anyone who's watching these videos that there is room for you here in this world of learning design because if you want to get into this business, chances are you're a very purposeful person. And whatever you know or whatever you've done, there is a place for that here in this world because I think you have to. I'm not gonna say I mean, money's not unimportant, but I think it's outcome before
Sure.
incomes. We have to focus on the outcomes if we want to talk about income or sustainability or those things. So if you're an outcome forward person, I think you will enjoy working with a person like Michael Sinamo as I do.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mark. I'm glad you mentioned there's room for new people and with new ideas and people that are starting out. There's still a lot of room for them. I love it. So thank you for ending with such a uplifting and you know ending. Thanks a lot, man.
Well, I can't wait to come back if you have me. We have a lot more to talk about.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. Thanks, Mark.